Welcome to Overtime Stories. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe and join the journey. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and every bit of support truly means a lot.
The Cleveland Browns quarterback situation has officially spiraled into full-blown chaos, and insiders say the tension behind the scenes is worse than anything fans see on Sundays. As sources claim, the clash between Deion Sanders' camp and head coach Kevin Stefanski didn't happen overnight. It built slowly as Shedeur Sanders' popularity surged, while his opportunities stayed locked behind the bench. Fans weren't just frustrated, they were confused. Every week, chants for Shedeur echoed through the stadium while Dillon Gabriel continued to struggle, and the coaching staff stayed stubborn. According to league insiders, that disconnect is what lit the fuse. Deion Sanders, fiercely protective of his son and deeply respected across football circles, reportedly made his displeasure known as questions around Shedeur's usage grew louder. The issue wasn't favoritism, it was fairness. Why wouldn't the Browns even allow competition when the season was slipping away? Analysts began pointing out the obvious. Gabriel's record fell to 1-4. Offensive production stalled, yet the depth chart never budged. That's when reports of internal friction surfaced. Insiders claim conversations between Stefanski and the Sanders camp became heated as frustrations boiled over. The Browns' front office reportedly feared opening a quarterback controversy they couldn't control. With Deshaun Watson looming as a potential return and millions tied to his contract, the organization felt trapped. Letting Shedeur play well would raise uncomfortable questions. Fans would demand answers. Media pressure would explode, control would slip. As sources say, the Browns chose stability over upside, even as that stability crumbled. The moment fans realized this wasn't about performance but politics, the narrative changed.
Sorry to interrupt, but hit that subscribe button real quick. It really helps the channel grow.
This stopped being about patience. It became about fear. Fear of losing control of the story. Fear of admitting mistakes. Fear of Shedeur becoming too big too fast. And when fear dictates football decisions, chaos follows. What made the situation combustible was how public everything became, even without official statements. As sources claim, sideline body language, post-game interviews, and practice rotations told a story Cleveland didn't want told. Shedeur remained engaged, prepared, and visibly ready, yet opportunities never came. Analysts like Albert Breer and Jeremy Fowler began laying out the logic on air. If the season is already slipping, why not see what the rookie can do? The answer insiders pointed to wasn't football, it was politics. The Browns invested heavily in Deshaun Watson. Admitting another quarterback might be the future threatens that investment. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel was given what insiders called a long runway, a luxury Shedeur never received. That imbalance fueled accusations of unfair treatment. Deion Sanders' reputation added pressure. This wasn't a quiet family watching from afar. This was one of football's most influential figures, watching his son's opportunity get buried despite circumstances screaming for change. As sources claim, heated discussions followed, not public shouting matches, but tense conversations where lines were drawn. Stefanski reportedly defended organizational patience. The Sanders camp reportedly questioned the logic. Fans picked sides instantly. The chant grew louder. "Let him play" became a weekly ritual. The Browns' refusal only amplified suspicion. Media coverage shifted from curiosity to critique. Why cling to a failing plan when alternatives exist? The answer, insiders say, lies in fear of controversy. Starting Shedeur would create comparison. Comparison would create accountability. Accountability would force uncomfortable admissions. So the Browns stalled. They hoped the noise would die down. It didn't. It multiplied. Social media clips, breakdowns, and stat comparisons flooded timelines. The longer Shedeur sat, the more powerful he became symbolically. He wasn't just a quarterback anymore. He was a statement about opportunity being denied. And statements don't stay quiet. The idea that footage leaked of a heated argument only intensified what was already a boiling situation, even if the details stayed murky. As sources claim, it wasn't the footage itself that mattered, but the belief that something serious had happened behind closed doors. That belief alone shifted perception. Fans assumed confrontation. Media outlets leaned into tension. The Browns stayed silent, which only added fuel. Silence in moments like this doesn't calm storms. It validates speculation. Insiders say the real issue wasn't one argument, but a philosophical clash. Deion Sanders represents player empowerment, confidence, and belief in letting talent rise naturally. Kevin Stefanski represents structure, hierarchy, and system control. Those philosophies collided once Shedeur became too popular to ignore. The Browns didn't just have a quarterback problem, they had an identity problem. Who decides the future? Coaches, front office, fan base? The locker room reportedly leaned toward Shedeur. Players respect preparation and composure. Shedeur showed both. Meanwhile, losses piled up. Gabriel struggled. The offense sputtered. Every failure magnified the decision to keep the rookie sidelined. Analysts openly questioned whether Cleveland was sabotaging its own season to avoid controversy. That's a dangerous accusation, but one that gained traction because of circumstances, not rumors. The Browns' fear of another quarterback controversy ironically created a bigger one. The situation reached a point where doing nothing became louder than any decision. Insiders say the organization underestimated Shedeur's impact. They thought benching him would quiet noise. It did the opposite. It turned him into a symbol of resistance against outdated thinking. And once that happens, control is gone. The Browns now face a reality they tried to avoid. Fans demand transparency. Media demands logic. And the Sanders name ensures the spotlight won't fade quietly. This isn't just about one quarterback. It's about how fear-driven decisions can derail entire seasons. As the weeks dragged on, insiders say the Browns' internal strategy became clearer, and it wasn't about winning games in the short term. According to sources close to league offices, Cleveland prioritized avoiding chaos over chasing momentum. That approach might make sense on paper, but football doesn't reward fear. The organization reportedly viewed Shedeur Sanders as a spark they couldn't fully control. His popularity grew every week he didn't play. Jerseys sold. Social media clips circulated. Fans rallied. That kind of organic support scares front offices that prefer predictable narratives. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel kept getting chances, even as results failed to improve. Insiders claim this wasn't about believing Gabriel was the long-term answer. It was about maintaining the current hierarchy until Deshaun Watson's situation clarified. Watson's looming return cast a long shadow. Cleveland had invested too much financially and politically to pivot easily. Starting Shedeur and watching him succeed would complicate everything. It would force comparisons. It would raise questions about contracts, timelines, and past decisions. According to sources, the front office wasn't ready for that reckoning. Stefanski, caught between performance and politics, leaned toward caution. That caution looked like stubbornness from the outside. Analysts broke down drives where creativity vanished. Conservative calls replaced urgency. Shedeur stayed on the sideline while the season slipped further away. Fans felt insulted. They weren't asking for miracles. They were asking for honesty. Give the rookie a shot. Let the field decide. The refusal to do so became louder than any press conference. Insiders say Cleveland underestimated how quickly patience evaporates when hope is visible but denied. The locker room reportedly sensed it too. Players don't need speeches to recognize wasted opportunity. They feel it in huddles and film sessions. The Browns' decision to cling to control instead of adapting created tension that no amount of silence could erase. The involvement of Deion Sanders elevated everything to another level, whether Cleveland wanted that attention or not. According to insiders, Deion's frustration wasn't performative. It was rooted in principle. Football rewards competition. Earned opportunity matters. When those values get sidelined, trust erodes. Deion didn't need to shout publicly. His reputation alone carried weight. The mere suggestion of disagreement between him and the Browns' coaching staff set off alarms across the league. Executives understand what the Sanders name brings. Media attention follows. Pressure multiplies. That pressure exposed Cleveland's hesitation. Insiders say the Browns hoped to ride out the season quietly, let losses stack without major shifts, and reset later. That plan collapsed once Shedeur's name became a weekly chant. Fans weren't blind. They saw a rookie ready to compete. They saw a team drifting. They connected dots. Analysts echoed the sentiment, carefully but consistently. This wasn't about hype. It was about logic. When nothing else works, you try something else. Cleveland refused. That refusal hardened opinions. The narrative shifted from developmental patience to active resistance. Whether fair or not, perception became reality. The Browns' silence amplified it. In the NFL, silence rarely protects. It invites interpretation. The idea that footage existed of a heated exchange added gasoline, even if details remained unconfirmed. The belief that tension existed became more powerful than proof. That's how stories take on lives of their own. Insiders say Cleveland misread the moment. They treated Shedeur like a future problem instead of a present solution. That miscalculation turned internal debate into public controversy. Once that happens, every decision gets viewed through suspicion. And suspicion is hard to shake. Now, the Browns face consequences that extend far beyond one season, and insiders say the damage to trust may be the hardest part to repair. According to sources around the league, Cleveland's handling of Shedeur Sanders will be studied as an example of what happens when organizations let fear override football logic. Quarterbacks define eras. Denying competition doesn't preserve stability. It fractures it. The Browns tried to avoid controversy and created a bigger one. Fans no longer debate whether Shedeur should play. They debate why he hasn't been allowed to compete at all. That shift matters. It reframes the entire organization. The front office, the coaching staff, and ownership now share responsibility for a narrative they can't control. Insiders believe the long-term quarterback future in Cleveland is now clouded by mistrust. If Shedeur eventually plays elsewhere and succeeds, this chapter will haunt the franchise. If he plays in Cleveland later and thrives, questions will linger about wasted time. Either outcome carries consequences. The Sanders name ensures this story won't fade quietly. Deion understands the business of football. He understands leverage. And leverage grows when public support aligns with performance potential. Cleveland underestimated that alignment. The league noticed. Other franchises noticed. Players noticed. This wasn't just about benching a rookie. It was about choosing comfort over courage. Football rarely rewards that choice. As this saga continues, one truth stands out clearly. Talent doesn't wait forever. Opportunities missed don't come back unchanged. The Browns' quarterback drama has already rewritten their 2025 season. What happens next will define their future beyond it. What insiders say now is that the Browns have crossed a point of no return, where silence, delay, and half measures will only deepen the fallout. According to league chatter, the longer Cleveland resists giving Shedeur Sanders a real opportunity, the more the story shifts from coaching preference to organizational dysfunction. Fans aren't just frustrated anymore, they're organized. Chants, signs, social clips, and weekly debates have turned Shedeur into a referendum on how the franchise values competition. That's a dangerous position for any front office. The locker room feels it too. Veterans respect clarity. They want to know the plan. When the plan looks like avoidance, trust erodes fast. Insiders claim Cleveland's fear of a quarterback controversy ironically guaranteed one. By protecting hierarchy, the team undermined credibility. The optics matter. A rookie with momentum sitting behind struggling starters reads as stubbornness, not patience. Analysts have begun comparing this situation to past franchises that delayed inevitable transitions and paid for it later. Those teams didn't lose because of talent gaps. They lost because of indecision. The Browns now risk being added to that list. Deion Sanders' presence looms large, not as a disruptor, but as a reminder of what happens when belief meets resistance. He represents a philosophy that rewards preparation and confidence. Cleveland represents caution under pressure. Those worlds collided, and the impact is still spreading. Insiders say future free agents are watching how this plays out. Quarterbacks notice how organizations treat opportunity. Coaches notice how quickly leadership adapts. Reputation travels fast in the NFL. Cleveland's choices today shape conversations tomorrow. If Shedeur eventually steps on the field and delivers, This chapter becomes a case study in delayed trust. If he never does, it becomes a warning about fear-driven management. Either way, the damage isn't theoretical anymore. It's real. The Browns tried to control the narrative and lost control of the room. That's the cost of resisting momentum. Football rewards decisiveness, not hesitation. The clock is ticking, and every week Shedeur remains sidelined, the question grows louder. Not whether he can play, but why he hasn't been allowed to prove it. And once that question takes over, answers stop mattering as much as action. The Browns are running out of space to hide behind process. The league already sees the truth forming. When talent is ready and opportunity is denied, history doesn't forget. It remembers who stood in the way. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dives and stay locked in as this story continues to unfold across the NFL.